Yeah, had to give me a little light. Hold on, fam. We about to jump into it. Yep. We're about to jump into it. Peace, everybody. We're gonna jump into this science real fast. Without further ado, I hope everybody having a good day. But what we're gonna introduce, and it's gonna be, I say, a 3-day topic I want to do for everybody. We're gonna start today, and we probably finish up Sunday. And I'm just gonna give a crash course on some of the introduction to the seven seals, just some of the occult science. So when I tell brothers and sisters, there's nothing spooky. We just must understand the occult science and what Kabbalah really mean and what things really mean when I say Kabbalistically spelled. So without further ado, let's get into our prayer. We put our things in the atmosphere, then we're going to get into this teaching. So let me level up. Divine warning by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He warns all Muslims, governors ordered to read and proclaim at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work or in the streets. Islam Emperors. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, my 2 cents, health, and wealth mores. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, and that's esoterically and exoterically Moors, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, the divine covenant, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deed. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down by our prophet. If we lose confidence in our prophet, we should turn in our cards and our buttons and cease wearing our turbans and our fez and return to the state where we were found, Moors. This is a holy and divine movement. And I want to reiterate, this is a holy and divine movement, Moors, founded by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. And that's esoterically and exoterically as well, Moors. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine pleas to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting the temple. Peace, brother. Peace, bro. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. And that's just one note we always want to put in the atmosphere. We also want to do a prayer for positivity, Moors. And it starts, because I operate on vibration, so I hope when we get around other individuals and they may say, well, I'm just dealing with civics. That's not Moorish science, because Moorish science deal with everything. We deal with civics, we deal with law, we deal with spirituality, we deal with astrology, we deal with history, we deal with linguistics, we deal with law, we deal with agriculture, we deal with the physical body, which is alchemy, all that stuff, man. So we deal with both manifestations, the holy and divine. But a prayer for positivity, Moors. And it reads, I pray that I think peace, speak peace, and that I am peace. I pray that I think truth, speak truth, and that I am truth. I pray that I think love, speak love, and that I am love. I pray everything I attract. I pray everything you attract, Moors, carries high, harmonious vibrations and intentions. May the light within me, may the light within you serve as a beacon for those that need it. Amen. Amin Ra. Shalom Alakim. Aya Asha Aya. Assalamu alaikum. Whatever you want to say, Moors. Whatever name that you want to give him prayers, you give him prayer. Because if we study our Quran, if we study our Moorish Quran, I don't care what Quran with the K. I don't even know. I got all these books down here. But I don't care what Quran you study. If you any Quran that you read is going to tell you that a prophet comes in the voice of the people. A prophet didn't come to confuse anyone. So if we know that and we study that, we agree. You can read in your Quran, a prophet comes in the voice of the people. So we understand that science. So we must put one more vibration in the atmosphere, Morris, because we operate on vibrations. And see, as you get higher and higher in occult science, and when Morris said that they're adapt teachers and they understand the wisdom, they should understand this science, the vibrations, and how we operate on vibrations and mantras and things. This is nothing new. This is nothing new. Not just because certain individuals are not there on that spiritual aspect. And if they're not on that spiritual aspect, then that's operating 360. That's operating 360. That's just material wisdom. You know? That's just when you're operating 360 more, you're operating under your own understanding. That's just material knowledge. We operate total 720. We operate under a whole different manifestation. That's that higher manifestation. That's that God and man becoming one, Moors. We operate under a higher power, Moors. I hope we understand that science. If we don't understand that science, then what are we talking about? Holy and divine. And divine, the synchronicity of both. We're going to jump into that. So let's get this prayer into the atmosphere, and then we're going to jump into the science, Moors. May the benison of Allah, which is arm, leg, arm, head, which is manifestation, Moors. If you read in our Quran, it tells us, it tell you that the Hebrew God. Come on, man. I mean, where's my, I mean, sometimes when I be speaking of the circle of this book, when brothers be asking me what to read, I say, if you say you were more, you should have read all this first. This is the first thing you should have read. This is the book. This is the holy and divine book. The stuff where we get the wisdom from. When I talk about our workman tools, this is all in here. When I talk about the Hebrew prophet is the rising star of wisdom, defied. He brings to us a knowledge of the secret things of Allah, and all the world will hear his words and glorify his name. You priests of the temple of Kavistu, stay, be still, and listen when he speaks. He is the living oracle of Allah. This is in our book, Moors. So if a Moor don't know this and don't understand the laws and the tenets, it's something wrong, Moors. I hear people talk about this written in code. I say, what, English? I had a temple out here for 3 years. And when Moors not operating on the right spirit, I shut it down, man. Because we're not going to confuse anyone. This is no secret society. This is for men, women, and children. A holy and divine creed. That it is your birthright to know who you are. It is your birthright to know real history. Taught from no biased perspective. Where you can go check everything with reference. In the Library of Congress. No fake biasness. I teach science. All through history, all through law. There's no other nationality but Moor. Everything else is misnomer. Research the doctrine of discovery. When you talk about autotoxin and aboriginal and all these other names, yes, those are names, but that's not the name of the people. So when we talk about historically, I don't get any argument with Moors of religion, because that's not my field to be arguing. What I do is show you the synchronicity if you are a Moor and a master scientist and a teacher, because you should understand the essence of all. And if a Moor said they don't have this and this in code, you should run. Everything I speak, it speak clearly from our teachings. From when brothers tell you things is a code and a mystery and they tell you to study, that means they haven't studied. A Moor that's put titles on himself that says he's some adapt or some master teacher, when he tell you to study, he should give you the keys to what to study. That's when you helping a brother, because this is about you. This is God, man, and becoming one. That's what we're talking about. This is a family. So this is no secret society. This is a science, a holy and divine creed, which is your birthright. We are master craftsmen. The science, that's no mystery. And if Moors say they study and they study all religious rights, they should be able to tell you the essence and break the essence of every religious right down with love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, health, because they all based off the same tenets. And I'm gonna break that science down, Moors. And a person can come with their own religious dogma, but I'm not here to convert. That's what we get understood. I'm a teacher, I am a scientist, and I'm a Moor. I know who I am. And I challenge you to know who you are. But the rest is for us to master, man. When people talk about the art of war is fought on many levels, mentally, physically, and spiritually. So you must be able to fight on all levels, or that's not total mastery. We just don't fight with our hands, Moors. So I hope we understand when I come from all levels and the synchronicity. So let's dig. May the benediction of Allah be upon thee and thine always, as thou should strive to be a credit to Allah. Make haste to bestow the act of love upon thy brother, and do our best to shun all evil, Moors. Remember to take suckle of the breast of knowledge, wisdom, fortitude, charity, love, and all standing, that we might nourish all men and women and bring everyone to the hearts of Allah, which is arm, leg, arm, head. We're trying to master ourselves, Moors. Let the truth be thy shield in the manifest battles of falsehood, Moors. Knoweth that we need not to pick the gates of paradise by means of theft or criminal ways, Moors. For behold, the key to paradise rests in our hands. And we must understand, Moors, that just a portion, just a tittle of our nature is weakness, instability, inconsistency. There is still the greater part of our nature that is divine. That's when we connect the 360 to the 720, Moors. 360 is just material wisdom. A man operating on his own understanding is a fool. We're operating man and God as one. Come on, Moors. In Moor science, God of the earth, God and man is one. There's no pie in the sky. This is not no Islam or no religious dogma. May Allah, may Yahweh, whatever name you glorify, however you give him glory, may him protect you, guide you, preserve you, lengthen your age, and give you everlasting peace, Moors. Come on, man. We got to connect the dots, man. So if Moors not reading this science and not understanding this science and they dissing things, and the first thing I ask them, I say, open the, okay, well, if you want to diss something, what's the introduction of our book say? The genealogy of Jesus with 18 years of the events of his life. So you got to understand the context of what he's saying. And then if you don't understand the 18 missing years, because I have all of the Hebrew books, I go over them. It's certain books that was took out for a reason. It's certain figures in the biblical scripture that they don't talk about for a reason, because it's a genealogy book of a people. So therefore, if you don't understand the language and how can I say it, the replacement, you're being translated wrong. And that's the problem. Because we're not dissecting things and showing things both manifestation, esoterically and exoterically, showing the science, showing the allegory, showing the parables, showing the symbology, showing the connotation, showing the denotation, showing what pseudography is, showing what Novus Testamentum is, showing what this means in Latin, how it's written before. And then when you understand what is written then, it has to mean the same thing today. When you can't just transliterate Hebrew into basic English, it can mean 10 different things depending on the context. Just like Latin is so many times so-called misconnotated or misquoted into English on purpose. When you think of Rudy or you think of reddish color, and that has nothing to do with lighter skin tone. That has to do with copper colors. So it's so much things that must be corrected, especially if you don't understand Gematria. If you don't study Gematria, you can be totally lost. And that's the study of certain things, man. So when people talk about things, they don't understand the synchronicity and get into the essence. This whole book, it's no mystery. It's no mystery. Jesus reveals to the people their sinful ways. Jesus wasn't Jesus from the tribe of Judah? Come on, man. Jesus and Bartha. Jesus teaches the common people the life and works of Jesus in Egypt. I mean, I can go on and on to connect the dots, to show the synchronicity of things. We got to get out of that argument, man, with people. That's not what we're here for. We're here to connect the dots, if you are more, and if you understand all the sciences. If you say you're a master teacher on both levels. If not, just say you get skilled in a certain degree. You're not a master mechanic. You just have a skill in a certain degree, but you can't diss something that you don't know. And that's what all I see we doing is like, no, we don't diss nothing, Morris. There's no way that you should be dissing something that you have no inclination of. Islam. There's no way we should be dissing something that you have no inclination of if you're not studying all the sciences, Morris. That just means you have a particular craft or you are skilled in a particular degree. It's duality in everything. Just like when I talk about appellation, when we talk about appellation, when we talk about in the context of grapes, when you're dealing with wine and thing, that's the first thing a wine connoisseur is going to ask. What is the appellation of the grapes? Meaning, where is it from? What's the region? Because that connects it to where it's from, or the goodness, or whatever they want to connect that appellation of that wine to. The same thing with us. When I say the words are there, so we don't want to get caught up in linguistic apartheid. So we should study all the sciences, and it's some that study the sciences, and it's some that have a particular field. Myself, man, this is what I do, and this is my life. So we just want to be clear on things, and I challenge all my brothers and sisters to get your pens and papers and write things down and research things for yourself, because this is about self-mastery. This is about self-mastery. A person should just not tell you to study and then leave no trace for you to study. We should give each other the keys, Moors. We should understand all this. If we study, if we have all our literature, if we study our Circle 7 Quran, Moors know what I'm talking about. I mean, I hope so. If Morris don't have this, what it's all about, we can quote Noble Drew Ali all day long. If you don't have this and you don't know this back and forth, when I talk about the workman tools, and then I put it in analogy when people talk about the 12 disciples, but I say I also use it in the esoteric manifestation of correcting ourselves with what that means. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. When I see more distant things, I say you can't be coming from this. You can't be talking about more science because if you're studying this, it will make you research and ask questions and connect the dots, which I teach. Certain things were just given wrong. Everything is not all wrong when you get certain things. I promise you. Most people are only getting one way, and that's the exoteric. No one is breaking history down. No one is telling you what certain books that was took out, what time periods, what dispensation mean when certain figures walked the earth and what they were under, what the Byzantine time period was all about, connecting those dots. We can't just jam everything together. So if we're not understanding the science and reading everything and taking the diligent time to be in the field of a doctor where we don't want to practice malpractice, where we're constantly studying, we're constantly perfecting ourselves, then that's a problem, because I'm not a know-it-all. I'm a scientist. I'm an alchemist. I'm a theosophist. And so that's what we're here to do, Moors. So let's get back to this teaching. When we talk about there's nothing new under the sun, when I talk about it's all about self-mastery, that's what this science is all about. This Moorish master Mawson. When we talk about Angelo Solomon, historically, this science, when Moors want to bang on each other per se, and they talking and they telling women they can't wear the fez when the fez is all about the woman. The air holes, this birth tassel, this nipple, this umbilical cord, all this is about the woman. All these tassels on here, this is all about the woman. The 4 breathe holes. When I tell my woman the Eastern Star, that's all about you. The Daughters of the American Revolution know that. This is all, this science, this self-mastery is all about you. The Mormons know I teach the science. When I lecture with my brothers, that's Prince Hall, and I try to show them that they just a level above reason, that they have no science, that they wear their fez in clandestine. They didn't even know what it is. And when I talk about the 33 times 3, the higher sciences, they have no idea. When they practice al-Islam, I mean, I hope we understand what I'm saying, Morris. I hope we know what I'm saying. I come from nobody's place. I come from what it is. American Islam, Sufism. So we talk about things that were here before when a person tried to get you under dogma and maybe, and when we talk about commandments and things, where we have the 42 laws of Ma'at, or we have the 42 negative confessions, and you can look certain things up. It's simple stuff. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to like me, but I just want Moors to study. When a person say this is it, it's not it. When you talk about from a scholarly aspect, especially from a scholarly peer review aspect, we could talk about the 16 crucified saviors, where so-called religious dogma, no matter who they are, like I said, a person can wear a fez, whatever, and tell you this is it, and that's not it. Moors, because if you're a scientist, on our Moorish card, this says, this is your nationality and identification card for the Moorish Science Temple of America and birthrights for the Moorish America, etc. Listen closely, Moors. We honor all the divine prophets, Jesus, but I'm going to give the historical name, which the name was Yeshua, because he never was a J in the Hebrew dialect. If he was the Hebrew Messiah, he would never give himself a Greek name. So we can make that clear. Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. See? So if a person trying to say, oh, this and that and this, that, how can that be so? And let me reiterate, let me say this eloquently with a silver tongue, matterfactually. This is your nationality and identification card for the Moorish Science Temple of America and birthrights for the Moorish Americas, etc. We honor all the divine prophets, Jesus, I'm saying Yahshua, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. May the blessings of the God, our Father, Allah, be upon you that carry this card. I do by here declare that you are a Muslim under the divine law of the Holy Quran of Mecca, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I am a citizen of the USA, Noble Drew Ali, the prophet. And if we don't understand that science, what he's saying then I'm sorry. Because a person always want to argue, and I say, well, if you don't understand how he set the temple up, it's going to always be an argument. A person going to always argue if they don't know how he set the temple up with an affidavit. And not elected, was crossed out, appointed. So if a person don't understand that science, it's going to always be an argument. So, and I'm not here for arguments. I shut that down. I just delete a person, because you can believe whatever religion you want to. I understand the essence of all of them, and that's the triple role of the adapt chamber. For my Moors that said they adapts and master teachers, we don't diss anything. So yes, it's claimed that the disciples of Jesus that was of supernatural and divine origins. We heard that, but we understand it was all these saviors being invested with divine honor defied. That's the science we have to understand. Ada of Assyria, Adonis, son of the Virgin in Greece, Alcides of Thebes, Bali of Afghanistan, Bedru of Japan, Buddhasaki of India, Cadmus of Greece, Moors. I can go on and on and on. Muhammad or Mafet of Arabia, Holy One Aqsa. I mean, I hope we understand what I'm saying, Moors. I hope we understand that. So when we talk about this science, man, this is about self-mastery. Understanding who you are. When I always say, I'm not here to convert nobody. I know who I am. I know I'm a Moor. Historically, I know who I am. I know who my family are. It's one nationality, many cultures. Just like when people talk about our empress, the Washita Moors, they still Moors. They have a tribe. I keep telling you, one nationality, many cultures. You don't belittle yourself. I can show you the documents. If some don't have the documents, we should say that instead of believing, because we don't have to believe nothing, because right in the root of that word is a word called belie. So we don't have to belie nothing. We don't have to believe nothing. We should study it to know for sure, so we can stand truth on our square from a historical aspect, not from assumption or belief. Come on, man, because there's only one law. It's only one history. And if the pen doesn't match the archaeology, you must change the pen, not the archaeology, Moors. I hope we understand that science. I hope we understand that science. So when we talking about things, Morris, if a Moor is not telling you about the Famid rite or the Paraclete rite or the Order of Jerusalem with the triple rows of the adapt chamber, I believe that's not valid. If a Moor is going to talk spirituality, we should speak on the synchronicity of the Famid order, of the Jerusalem order, and the Paraclete rite, or the Parsalite rite, excuse me. We must understand those, Moors. And if we don't understand them, we should say, you know what, I have to study that a little bit in depth. And that's what we should do. We should understand what Sufism is. When I tell you, do not attach yourself to any particular creed exclusively, so that you disbelieve all the rest. Or sometimes more, and most times more, you will miss much that is good. And you will fall, or you will fail to see the real truth or the synchronicity in all. God, the omnipotent, the omnipresent, is not contained by any one creed. For it is in the Quran, Moors, we study it. If we study in all wisdom, wherever you turn, there is the face of Allah, right? That's that mysticism, esotericism called what? The Arabic, the Tasawwuf, right? Come on, man. We can go on and on with that. I mean, let's drop some jewels, and if we can agree, say something. I looked for him on the Christian cross, but he was not there. I went to Hindu temples and shrines, but nothing. I visited the Kaaba in Mecca. I did not find him. I questioned learned scholars, but he outstripped their understanding. Finally, Moors, and I peered into my own heart, into my own bosom, into my own essence. There and nowhere else was his home. Come on, Moors. That's understanding who we are within. That's the command and adapt manual and the use of our carpenter tools. It's right in our Moors Quran. This is the command and adapt manual and the use of the carpenter tools. The reconstruction, the ancient and most exalted grand Ka, the Kaaba of Allah. I hope we understand what I'm saying, Moors. I can go on and on with the wisdom. It's there. And if any more tell you that's not our science, they tell you something. I just read from the grooves. I just gave you the command and adapt manual and the use of the carpenter tools. The reconstruction, the ancient and most exalted grand Ka and the Kaaba of Allah. And it's also in our Circle 7 Quran. I think it's chapter 10. Let me see. Or it's chapter 5, verse 12. You go all the way to 21. These two remind me of the ones we handled in our workshop. I mean, so I want you to study that, Morris. So we got a little time because it's going to be quick. Well, it's not even so quick, but I'm going to give that's a little introduction of this 7 seals, Morris. Some science that we can get up to so we can connect some dots, man. When I say this is about perfecting yourself. When we talk about the 7 seal or that metaphor of the occult tools, there we go. I'll keep talking about the tools, the master ourselves. When we talk about alchemy, that's mastering yourself to develop as a human, but also as a spiritual being, Moors. How do we do these things, Moors? By connecting ourselves to nature as much as possible, Moors. The human nature. We have become masters at understanding how we work inside our minds. But more, we also have what to become adapts at hiding ourselves from the truth, that above power, that truth. That's what we stick on. Many paths are pointing to the heavens, Moors, but all of them are challenging at the mental or the emotional level and the physical level. But we can master that stuff, and that's what this spiritual aspect of science is all about, Moors. And if anyone tell you any different, I'm sorry. You must master yourself and also know who you are. That's how you operate total 720 on this earth plane. If not, ask, show me a more should. I hear more saying it should be free. I said, well, you do your craft for free. You go to work for free, and most of them work for other individuals. And they telling other Moors to do this and do that, and it's stupidness. And you're not mastering yourself. You're not teaching this to your children. You're not having structured classes. I mean, it's supposed to be Sunday school, spirituality, history classes. If you're going to study law, the only way to study law is to study law. You can't study law by just highlighting 1 or 2 paragraphs or on outdated law. You have to study real law. You have to study indigenous people law and policy. You have to know everything. You have to know precedent in court cases. You have to know what's still valid. You have to know business law. You have to know all law. You have to know what's not valid in UCC now. You have to know these things. I'm telling you. And you must remove your feelings from it, because truth have no sides. And if you go in with feelings, it's over. Because a lot of things, brothers and sisters, be saying it's not valid. And we're not here to, and I'm not here to debate anyone, but I can care less how many times a person go to court. But when we talk about connecting ourselves to that higher level, that synchronicity, when we talk about this real science, when we talk about what this all about, we talk about this self-mastery on the spiritual plane. Once we understand that level, yes, the other level is definitely very important. But without this aspect, you're going to be operating like somebody owe you something. And when I say you must understand the full color of law from a historical aspect, when I talk about the trustee on the law of identification, when I talk about lawful things, not feelings. Don't you know? No, we know so many treaties was broken. We can talk about so many treaties, but a lot of treaties was broken, Moors. So we must understand all history. Things happened yesterday, today, forevermore. Nothing's new under the sun. When Moors say they don't study this, we study all history. Nothing's new. This Tavistock Institute, this is some stuff that's super old. Nothing's new, man. I mean, it's so much stuff that we can go on with, but let's keep it on the same plane. But planes of existence, when we talk about the human existence and all those good things, when we talk about the 4 planes of the human existence, it follows as the mental plane, the emotional plane, the ethereal plane, and the physical plane. So we must know, we must master these things. The mental plane is the plane where we think. Just like when we talk about the 7 Kemetic principles, these are the things that we master. The mental plane is the plane where we think. And many people think, but very few are aware of that mental activity and its different process, Moors. So what I'm saying is, to become aware of your mental plane, we have to study ourselves meticulously over and over. There is a necessity to discover which mental patterns we have to perpetuate or to conjure because of what we're going through. Understanding who we are, Moors. We're talking about self-mastery. When we talk about the Kabbalah, when I talk about all this science, when I talk about the Kabbalah, all this connotated science, which is the Kabbalah, when I talk about activating your Metatron, this is all about perfecting yourself. We teach this. And if a Moor say they don't understand this, well, that's on them. They should say, well, they're not there yet. But how are you going to perfect yourself and master yourself if you don't know who you are and you don't know that you're connected to what's above? When I talk about you have those 12 reactors in your brain, when I talk about in your mental capacity, in your hippocampus, every constellation have 3 deacons. When I'm talking about in your hippocampus. Come on, man. When I talk about this, when I talk about the Kabbalah, when I talk about things written Kabbalistically, when you thinking the Baphomet is something crazy, when I say Eliseus Levi connotated this, the Baphomet is just written Kabbalistically. It's written backwards. If you follow my page, and I say I don't get into dogma, I get into science. It's written Kabbalistically. It's written in Latin. It's really the Temple of David. Complete wisdom, complete God, man. And if anybody want to connotate it to evilness, that's because it's connotated and it's religious dogma. And all scientists know that. All scientists and all wisdom know that. If not, then whatever, man. But Kabbalah is one of the most some of the occult sciences and the magical systems. It has been used by all the magi's, the wise men, for thousands of years. In the science, the human being is considered to be a universe in itself. First developed, they say, by the Jewish people, but we know that's connotated, Moors. Then they say followed by the Christian, but we know that's connotated. I can show you all through history. This from occult scientists, all from all this is more science. It's all more science, Moors. From Celtic magic, I can show you all through history. It's all science, all more science. From Masonry, all more science. Some of the Mormon religion, they don't want to tell you, but I studied them more. I got all the Mormon books. The mystery is you. And it is what it is, man. And I can show you that from a historical aspect. It's just what it is. The tree of life is a graphical representation of the complete system of the Kabbalah. It represents the 10 planes of existence. It represents Moors. It represents the 10 planes of existence, linked together by 22 types of energies that exist in the universe. Each of the 10 planes of existence is sphere called what? Sifriat. And it contains all the experience and creative powers of the specific plane. So I hope we understand what I'm saying, Moors. These 22 links between them took form in the shape of 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. When we talk about gematria, for all my brothers that say they Egyptologists, when I say, well, I can show you in the hieroglyphs in Egypt, the YHWH. Yeah. If you understand the signs and the symbols, you should know that. But that's a whole nother scripture. I mean, that's a whole nother lecture. The 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet gave birth to the 22 major cars of the Tarot and the astrological signs, to the name of the angels. Almost every occult science of the occultant has a link to the Kabbalah, Moors. When I talk about high science, that's why in certain, man, I'm telling you, in certain masonry, man, it's 32 and 33 degrees is a level above freezing. I promise you, it's no science. That's snowman science. Our eye is not under no triangle. We haven't taken no oath. This is nothing secret. Now it's sacred because it's dear to our heart. That means sacred, but we don't wear our affairs clandestine. We're having disrespect our foremothers and our forefathers. We're studying under our fig tree, connecting the dots. Kabbalah is a rich science that explains almost every aspect of the human existence in an intellectual, understandable way. Just like when I break math down, just like when I break astrology down, when I go lecture at the schools, and it's kids be like, man, why you ain't our teacher? You break it down so eloquently. Because I say I pertain it to everyday living. I pertain it to everyday living. When I break down language, when I show kids how not to get caught up in context and linguistic apartheid. When I say you very smart, when you can think in a millisecond like that, it just takes a teacher. It takes someone as a map to spark that other reactor in the brain. I'm telling you, Moors. The science is deep and mysterious, which I tell people. And it can lead you to break down, but you're supposed to study and you're supposed to do it diligently. When we talk about learning, must be accompanied with prayer and meditation. When I talk about the sage and everything, this is not a joke. All this, you can't do one thing. It's not just one thing. It's a synchronicity of all. The meditation, all that. The more we understand the principles of the Kabbalah, the more our practice will become efficient. No ritual is no good if the vessel is not right. Just like, and I've used an analogy of alcohol. Alcohol is no good in the bottle. It must go into the vessel. And then depending on that vessel of how much alcohol it can take, that's when that spirit controls. So I hope we understand that, Moors. Our practice must become efficient. It's not necessary to learn Hebrew in order to become a good occultist. When a person tell you, oh, in order for you to learn your science, you got to learn some different language. If you study on your own, if you're a diligent studier, a prophet come in the voice of his own people. Did Noble Ali tell you have to learn a different language? No. That's why I keep telling brothers that's not true. A prophet come in the voice of his people, for it won't be any confusion. I mean, I hope we know that. But would it help you to learn a different language? Absolutely. The Hebrew alphabet? Absolutely. The metaneter? Absolutely. Absolutely it helps. To understand Latin? Absolutely. Spanish? Absolutely. Understand what different adverbs is, what nouns are, what conjunction words is, what context mean? Absolutely. It's very important to learn all that. Just like when I talk about Eliseus Levi that wrote this. I tell you, even Adam Blavatsky, all that occult wisdom, all come from Moors. I can give you all the history where they from their pen they tell you. But Eliseus Levi, he taught the occult symbols derived from the Kabbalah. Every detail has its own importance and adds to efficiency of the talisman. I hope we know what the talisman mean, man, and what the talisman is all about. The true power comes from understanding the meaning of the symbols that create the final design, Moors. I hope you follow me with the science, with the esoteric science. It's an inspiration for virtue and wisdom, and it renders its full efficiency, Moors, when the occultist, when a master adept has developed inside himself, herself, the virtues that the symbols represents, Moors. So also the traditional, when they say the Jewish Kabbalists, but we know that history. So don't, when I use words, understand when things are connotated. We understand that anyone can be a Jew. If you believe in Judaism, you're a Jew. Just research yourself. It's not genetically a such thing as an Arab. If you speak Arabic, you're Arabic. You're an Arab. So get with the historicalness, what I'm saying, the ancientness, and don't get caught up in modern when I speak. But the Kabbalists will not endorse this modern version of the pentagram. And it has been an important part of the learning process for the new modern Kabbalah students, for the ones that may not know. So I'm going to show you some things. The best way to learn the occult mysteries is to practice daily, to do the rituals, and to meditate. When a person asks me how to activate the Metatron, when a person won't give you the keys, I say, man, I've written the books. None of my books is expensive. You activating that Metatron, that's something within you. You got to practice daily to do the rituals, meditate on the symbols, meditate also on the lessons of life, perfecting yourself, breathe in a proper way, trying to transform your mind, who you are first. It's prereqs. People jump into advanced civics and clown things. They got people out here committing crimes. And I said, man, because they jump all the prereqs. Just like when people be reading things. I said, in the biblical Bible, in a book of Yasher, when they say, what's the book of Yasher? I say, look in your biblical Bible when it says, didn't you read this in the book of Yasher? Question mark, prereqs. It's a whole other prereqs that the biblical Bible talk about, but nobody speaks of them. I teach this when I say I'm a Moor, I know who I am, but I teach all science. I teach all religion. I teach the Kemetic principles. I teach metaphysics. I break things down for you can understand no matter who you are, because we all are a people. So you must know who you are historically. But back to what I was saying, the goal of the theory, or the goal of this self-mastery, is to fill our mind with the knowledge enough to connect with the higher realities of understanding. And by then, Moors, the knowledge of the world will not replace the bliss of simple being in contact with the truth. I hope you understand what I'm saying, Moors. See, a person trying to get you caught up with this talk about, well, this, you can do this, feeling. Yeah, I hear that. But how are their vibration? How are they operating? You got to pay attention to that. The tree of life, the Kabbalah theory, is based on the diagram. Both this marvelous and this complex, Moors. Moors, it was explained in a book called the Sefer, and I don't want to break all my books down, so I'm going to tell you the Sefer Yitzrah. The Sefer, Yetzirah. It's really the book of formation, how things line up, how the synchronicity aligns. It is a manual on the universal mechanisms, or the mechanics. It explains how the light of creation condescends itself to create many aspects of the universe, Moors, and the human being, Moors. The Kabbalists, as we speak, it says, as above what more? So below. As below, so above. We have to break things down. I'll show you the signs and symbols. I will connect the dots for us. That's above what's all the signs and symbols coming together. I love to break this down. We should break the signs and symbols down. It is our way of saying we are made the same way the universe is made. It's not just our manifestation. It takes the universe to create the human. That you. I mean, come on, man. Every word means things. The great light of creation came from the absolute light without end. So when you get connotated in or Illuminati and illumination, I say you're getting connotated wrong. It's a lot of people that's not enlightened and illuminated. That's their fault. But we're not afraid of the word because we're connected to the light. We're connected to the science, Morris. We understand the esoteric and the exoteric. We are the elite. You don't understand the Masonic mystery? And brother going around doing all these signs don't mean nothing if you don't understand them and it's not in you and you operate on love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, health, and wealth. Our children are supposed to know who they are. Mentally, physically, and spiritually, and understand that they are a business. Like I say, I just don't teach spirituality. I teach the whole level. I teach business class. I teach nonprofit. I teach to all schools. I have my own nonprofit. I go into schools and show these children in these hard to hit communities how to, when they graduate, they have their own business and their own living entity, their own tax identification number as a business with own business credit. And we're arguing over religion. And I say it's one nationality, many cultures. You don't strip a person from their culture if they understand who they are. That's impossible. That's crazy. That's dogma. But the great light of creation came from the absolute light without end and poured down like water to fill the 10 spheres of existence, more is like jars per se, or we use that analogy. The water of creation filled the first, then overflowed in the second, then overflowed in the third, down to the 10th jar, or that sphere. I hope you following the science, Moors. These jars or spheres are called the what? The Sifriyat. The channels used by the flowing light of creation is linked. The Sifriyat links together and also permit the flow from the another. There are 22 of these channels. Each represents by a letter of the Hebrew alphabet. When I do a lecture on gematria, I did one when I did my dissertation, when I reveal a lot of keys, when I say that's the problem why we argue, because we don't know. When I break down dispensations and time periods and from a historical aspect, when a person, just for instance, when a person go around saying European, I say, man, genetically, man, you're still wrong. European don't mean have nothing to do with no nationality. I mean, if people have books like the ancient and modern Britons by David McRitchie, and when I say, listen to yourself, if you're not reading the science, you're just buying books and putting them on the shelf. European doesn't mean have nothing to do with nationality, because it was Moors there. The European Moors, they were just born in Europe. They were Moors. So if you're not understanding history and historical and the real names, the Albions, and breaking it down, you're confusing still. So we can't base things on something because we get excited or someone's saying things. European has nothing to do with nationality, because you had the Moors in Europe and they were European Moors. Come on, man. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. It is what it is. So I come from a historical ancient aspect. You know, I don't come from what someone say. When I did my dissertation, when I do lectures on college campuses, I have to come with peer-reviewed scholarly research from all levels. And no matter if no one like it, you know, is what it is. You can research it. When I come with things, when I came with the doctrine of discovery, and when I came with the 103 facts about the Black Indian of the Western Hemisphere, I mean, it was nothing no one can say. When I talk about the real Indians are the Negro, the Black or Moors, it was nothing no one can say from a historical aspect. When I came from the forgotten cause of the Civil War, a new look at the slavery issue by Lawrence R. Tenzer, That book costs, I forget how they try. I think they try to charge 500,000 for the book, but I have them because I'm part of the Philosophical Society. I mean, when people be talking about the golden age of the Moors, I say there's nothing to argue about when you have the stuff. It's right there. I mean, we're arguing over things that it doesn't make any sense. So as we proceed, Moors, in the Sifriyat, God, whatever you want to call it, takes a shape, one of his infinite manifestations. Each manifestation has a universal soul, an envelope of itself. I hope we know that. Therefore, each Sifriyat, each manifestation has 5 distinct components. Oh, there we go. We talk about that 5. 1, God form. 2, soul. 3, regent or the manager. 4, family of spiritual beings. 5, physical manifestations. So by learning about each aspect of these Sifriyat, so these manifestations, Moors, and the 22 links between them, we can invoke the spiritual energy. We can conjure up these spiritual energies of the universe. That's what this Adat wisdom is. I keep telling more, but they want to get you connotated in some stuff like you're finna go to court and get something for free. But this universal mechanism to help us in our lives today, assist our development as real people, assist our children to know who they are, assist with problems, assist ourselves to dealing with each other, to understand what commerce is all about. From all the forms of the occult magic, the divination, the astrology, numerology, the tarot, all this, all the 22 major cards of the tarot are in fact 22 channels of the Kabbalah, Moors. I mean, I hope we know this. This is science that we should be teaching. This is a science. The pentagram is a 5 penta, a point image. The gram made of one continuous line with 5 equal angles. Don't that it sound like I'm talking about the feds, don't it? When I show you all through history, man, the topic, we have so many different captives, man. We have so many headdresses. As I show you, as I demonstrate when I wear all my different crowns. It's called upon the force of the 5th Sifra, the Geburah, the Geburah. I might be pronunciating it wrong. The strength and the concept of movement and action. Don't that sound like the Kemetic principles? Don't that sound like I'm going to the Kemetic principles, Moors? Come on, we're going to teach this. Right? Therefore, it is used in rituals to initiate the action of the operation, to call for a movement of energy. It is represented in your hand with 5 fingers, but most of all, it represents in our body with our 5 extremities, Moors. What we talk about in Moors, arm, leg, arm, head. What we talking about, Moors? Oh, you think we just quoting goofball stuff? When I do synchronicity, when I say this is a science, more should understand all the occult sciences, all connecting God and man as one. More science is all the sciences. More science is all the science. If you are true adaptive, if you are a true teacher, you understand all metaphysics. And that's what we teach, man. So I'm not here to argue with nobody. I'm here to teach the science, man. That's what I'm here to do. But yeah, the 2 legs, the 2 arms, and your head, the pentagram with the pointing up and 2 pointing down. Uh-oh. The symbol of virtuous man. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What you think this was something scared? Scared? No. And I showed you our ultimate man chart. Come on, man. We must connect the dots and get out of spookism and get us the science and stop arguing with religious dogma. Using the symbol will encourage us to imitate the virtuous and expand our consciousness and our actions, Moors. The pentagram can also be reversed to symbolize the falling of man. That's why, Moors, when if you don't understand signs and symbols, when you see certain Masons, European Masonry, and they got Allah and Albia on there, They're telling you. It's nothing to argue. They'll tell you if you understand who you are, it's your science. Who you think the woman is? Why you think the knife is there? You don't know? Come on, man. If you a true scientist, if you a true Moore Mason, you know all the crowds, man. It's not just wearing no hat. I'm telling you, man. But it's mostly used by the consciousness and the uninformed when they do certain things, or the Magis, and does not really promote expansion of consciousness. Remember how I tell you people can take certain things and use them for whatever? Just like Hitler took the so-called swastika. That's not original. It's connotated. Come on, and it's reversed. So we must know the things. When we in our Moore sign, we talk about arm, leg, arm, head. Complete. That's what we're talking about. Can somebody use things for evil? Of course. Of course they can. But when you're operating in the fire, and the only way to get fire is go in the fire and use fire, then you're not operating on spookism. You don't need that. So depending on the direction of the pentagram's energy flow, Moors, it can either summon or banish. You know what I mean? I mean, we got to understand when I talk about that fear, fire, earth, air, river, or water. When I talk about that science, Moors, right? You know, when we talk about conjuring things up, we talk about the truth of ourselves, recognizing the truth, honesty, integrity. To recognize the truth, we must first understand it. And as we explain, as we go on with this lecture, truth refers to a state of mind, Moors, while honesty refers to the communication of facts. Integrity refers to respect of self. So truth, the philosophical truth, is beyond the physical reality of facts, Moors. It is the absolute expression of what is, both as a spiritual and a human level, Moors. It a place without doubt, without darkness, where there is no communication between two parties, but rather a completeness, a synchronicity, a communion, Moors. Recognizing the truth has nothing to do with affirming actual facts, confirming physical events. It is the recognition that we are all, that we are everything, that we are. So I hope we understand in this science that I'm demonstrating. When we talk about calling the mantras, how do you know how to do that? How do you know how to apply those things? When we talk about the power of manifestation, when we talk about heaven on earth, veiled by the human mind, what is above is like what is below. What is below is like what is above. To accomplish the miracles of one same thing, Moors. All is the same. All is one. The physical plane of existence is like the spiritual planes of existence in an allegorical manner, Moors. Heaven is earth, not somewhere else, but here, Moors, right here. All that you will see of heaven will depend on your perception of life, Moors. Your power of manifestation will be determined by your ability to see in your life the possible wonders of the heaven before they actually manifest before you. If you can't see them happen, how are they going to manifest? Everything is ready to be shown, but waiting for the correct moment for you, for me to be able to perceive it, Moors. This is the power of the adapt. We must see ourselves doing these things, Moors. I'll leave you with that. We'll pick up tomorrow. Islam. I'm done, babe.
Oh, okay. I'm about to go.
Where you going?
Some little pamper thing.
Dang, you ain't got yours quick as hell. What pamper thing?
Both have been there.